What if you were to do something you weren't ever passionate about? Like a job that you really didn't like?
Couldn't do it. I tried working at
but you made a lot of money
Let's say
doing
it now. Here we go. Gold Line International. I've never said that before. Gold Line International. That was a job that I worked at barely out of high school. That was what I thought was going to get me into like the investment world. It was Gold Line International. I started doing data entry with them, and I hated it. Could not stand it. But I was
How much
paid,
were you
like,
making? Were you
minimum
making?
wage. Like it was either between $8 and $12.
So it wasn't even
an hour.
that, like, it wasn't great.
No, but the goal was with that is that they were going to start me off doing data entry in the mailroom, and then move me up from that into the into the shipping. So it was like data entry, mailroom, the bottom of the barrel. Then you got into shipping, which is like right above that. Then you got into, gosh, there was something else above shipping that was just slightly better. And then after that, maybe it was like customer service or like.
So it was a lot of steps essentially
but the end goal would be to be what's called an account representative. And what you would do as an account representative is you'd have a list of numbers of people who have inquired to buy gold in the past or precious metals or numismatic coins. And you would sit there all day making calls to clients, trying to sell them.
That's the top?
Coins. That's the top.
That doesn't sound like the top. That sounds
the
like the
top.
grunt work.
No, because you're paid on commission. So some of those dudes were making like $200,000 a year. But obviously then after that you have like
Right.
CFO and the CEO and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to be the account representative or account executive.
Telemarketer.
Yeah, which at the time I saw that and I thought that was the most like glamorous, glitzy, because like everyone in the back, and I worked in the back office, everyone in the back office would be like at their beck and call.
Right.
Like you would have some dude, like they would wave the sheet in the air when they did a deal, and like someone would have to go and like run that over to processing in the back, and they'd process the order, and there would be like someone going around, and like if they needed coffee or something, they'd give them coffee. And
they were like the kings.
Yeah. And like everyone, and it seemed like there was this big divide between the front office and the back office. Like the back office people were like these little like and the front office people, you'd see them like drive the Mercedes and flashy clothes.
Okay.
And like, I wanted to be them, you know.
It's a whole like system, whole like.
It was very corporate. I hated it though. But yeah, that was that. I hated it. So that to me was so impactful that I could never do a job that I hated because I would never want to return to that again. It was so awful. The first day I liked it, and then after that, I loathed it. I hated life.
So a question I remember hearing one time that I thought was really interesting. Would you sit in a blank white room for 8 hours a day, but be making $200,000? Obviously, before you started making a lot of money in real estate and YouTube. When you were at that point in your life, would you have accepted a job like that? Sit in a blank white room for 8 hours a day doing nothing, but still walking home with a big paycheck?
Probably.
You would?
Yeah.
And do you think...
At 18, of course, yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough. I feel like a lot of people would probably try it out, and then after a while, they'd be like, "Screw this! This is terrible."
Right, yeah.
Would you do it for 100,000?
At 18, probably.
Yeah, 100,000. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, even now, like, I'm sure there's a dollar amount where you could pay me to be in a white room for 8 hours a day. I'm sure there's an amount. I think we all have an amount that we would do that for.
Do you think sleep is a waste of time?
No, sleep is the one thing for me. I just need it. If I don't get to bed by a certain time, then I'm a wreck. I would say if you paid me $10 million a year, I would sit in a white room for 8 hours a day.
No YouTube.
No
so
YouTube.
you'd have to take a year hiatus off of YouTube.
Actually, I don't know if that would be worth it. Wait. No, $10 million a year. No, it wouldn't be worth it. I would say it would have to be like 20 maybe $30 million.
And you do it.
For no YouTube.
Where would I go, Graham? What would I do?
I'll pay you to just stick around.
To just watch you?
Because I'm thinking a 1 year break, $30 million.
You could come back and like have a crazy like, "What's up, guys? I made $30 million in 1 year," and everyone would watch it.
I guess my biggest concern though would be just mentally going crazy, and then because that might just be enough to screw you up, and then you're never the same afterwards.
It's like going insane from sitting in. Right. Isn't that like what insane asylums are?
Yeah, but you're not getting paid for that. It might just be
true.
you're just sitting there, just being like, okay, fine. You could count how much you're making from. I don't know. I just don't know the effects of isolation for 8 hours a day. Was it every single day? The hard part would be if you don't do it for an entire year, you get nothing. So like if you get to day 300 and you just crack,
wow,
you don't get $1. Like, that's what it would have to be.
Yeah,
it's either you get all of it or nothing.
That's crazy.
No.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting concept. I would probably do it.
I bet, honestly, I bet most people would do it. I think a lot of people don't like their job and would rather sit in a white room for 8 hours a day with just completely deprived of all of their senses 8 hours a day.
Just time passing.
Just time passing. That would feel like, but then again, could you sleep during those 8 hours?
No.
You have to.
So you have to be fresh off of like 8 hours of sleep. You have to be like as at your most hyper self with nothing.
You might mentally go crazy.
You probably would.
Because I think humans are not designed to be that. I think honestly, what I think would happen is that you would get very depressed. And I think you would have a crisis. That's what I think.
A little crisis in there.
Yeah, and I think every day it would get worse. I think you would battle severe depression doing it. And I think coming out of that, you would probably have PTSD.
PTSD?
Yeah.
So like you couldn't get into like a white room.
For an entire year. You're talking about, let's say, if you live to 80, 1/80th of your life was spent in complete isolation for 8 hours a day. You're going to wake up after that, when that is over, and just be paranoid of like going back to that. Or like you're going to be paranoid of like,
really?
Am I out of it? It's going to seem like a bad dream.
That's so hard for me to actually picture because I feel like the entire time I was in that, I would be in that white room. I would just be thinking about like, oh my God, I'm like making this much money. You know what I mean?
Probably in the beginning, but
every time I walk into a room with it's like all white, I'd just be thinking about dollar bills.
But if you look at the hedonic treadmill, after about 2 months or so, making that amount of money is going to seem completely normal, and they're just going to hate it. First 2 months, you could probably do it, but you'll get used to it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you'll get used to things very quickly.